welcome. Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. Welcome to Raising Excellence. We are here with Michael, Deirdre, and Willow today, and we're going to be talking about welcoming the new year, bringing it, making it strong, being strong with the new year. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, and also some techniques and tools to make it more purposeful, so that you can actually direct your life more than if you were just a recipient or somebody who's just receiving what comes. So let's take it away with Michael, who's leading this session. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks. Thank you, Agnieszka. And it's wonderful to join everyone today. Really appreciate you having me as always. Yeah, so today I want to talk about, being that it is January 1st, this is a great time to start a new habit and actually succeed in something. And so what I'm suggesting, and this is kind of one of the little parts and pieces of my ethical emergence course, is learning how to really effectively journal for yourself. And that can be a little bit different for everybody. And so kind of finding that sweet spot for you, because journaling is a very effective tool that you can add to your repertoire that's going to make it much, much better and much easier for you to get where you want to go and be able to evaluate where you've been and more accurately get there quicker. And there's a lot of different techniques, and that's kind of where I come into play, and that's where I'm really valuable, is kind of finding the reasoning that makes it really important for you to carry on that habit, and then add to those habits all kinds of neat things. And so journaling is kind of the start of that. But
Hey,
there's
can
a
I
lot of
ask you a
other
couple
reasons why
questions?
journaling is great. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was wondering because from our conversations, I know that I'm just going to turn off your name tag. From our conversations, I know that journaling has made a huge difference in your life. And
Yeah.
also, I remember you said about your emotional well-being and how you interact with the world has really, really been improved because of journaling. Can you tell us more about that? Like, what impact has it made on your life?
Yeah, well, I got, I never was a much of a journal kind of advocate or proponent up until I was actually in college, and I was an older student because I went through the military. And so, I was in my late 20s and just graduating from college, and I went and I took a Franklin Planner course at that time. Does everybody know what Franklin Planner is? All right, so Ben Franklin was a really good guy when it came to journaling, and he really had kind of an effective method of really kind of focusing on 13 different kind of attributes about himself that he would practice on a daily basis. And subsequently he had kind of a process that he went through on a daily basis to make the most of his life. And so there's something called the Franklin Planner that's really kind of a advanced version of that, where you can really get like a logical approach to how to be very effective in using your time and scheduling your time and getting to your goals and stuff like that. And so I did that, and sure enough, like within just a couple of years, man, I was just totally like knocking it out of the park. I just got out of college. Took my first job and just went to town, and my paycheck just blew out the top. Even did more than I ever thought was possible. But at the same time, I was just doing this awesome job. I was delivering beyond anybody's expectations. And so I knew it was very good. The problem was that kind of logical, rigid approach kind of gets old. And for me, I'm just a little bit too creative, a little bit too artistic. Once I kind of have something, I like to kind of play with a little, and make it easier. And so I've kind of adopted something else since. But like right now,
Yeah.
I just got like a little notebook pad here, just a regular notebook pad, and that's essentially what I use for my journal at this point. And then I've got a stack of them over there that is, pretty much every thought I've had. When a good idea pops up. I don't know, how did that do?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Um I like that. Yeah, you've learnt this process, this efficient way of kind of working out your goals and how to schedule them, but you've made it your own.
Yeah.
I really like that because I find that myself. If I'm learning something from somebody, yeah, it's good. Like it's rigid for me, but it's then that process of making it my own that it starts kind of being smooth and being streamlined. That's very, yeah. I'd like to know
Yeah.
what.
Well, for more artistic people, I kind of advise a different approach, than what I just outlined there. I would say, write a story, tell your story about what happened to you today, or write the story of what you're going to do today or tomorrow, and kind of create the characters and create the opportunity to like write yourself into this awesome story. If you're wanting to look forward, write yourself into the story, and then those roles that you play them the way you want to play them, and like kind of create your own existence. And that's kind of one of the ways that for somebody that's I don't know, is that considered right brain artistic? um,
That's
that's
left
kind of the
brained,
creative.
Michael.
Oh, I'm sorry, left brain,
Because
whichever
it
one it
crosses,
is.
right? So there's an easy way to remember that. Your right side is your analytical side, and your left side is your emotional, feminine side, right?
Okay,
So masculine,
so I write with
analytical.
my right hand. I'm
Right.
right brain.
So right hand is the decisive hand, right? It's the action hand because you're always shaking your hand. So it's the masculine. Masculine is action, right? And feminine is receiving, so feeling, experiencing the world. So the left side is your feminine side and your right
Okay.
side. But the brain crosses. So if you want to talk about the right hand, it's the left side of the brain, and the left
Yes.
hand is the right side of the brain.
Okay.
But I had another
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
So um, when you talk about journaling, like what is the like? Is there a system or a plan that you follow on a weekly basis that makes a difference for you, that creates this kind of movement that you spoke
Yeah.
about in the
Well,
past?
that's where working with other people really kind of gives me a different perspective, when it comes to how do they employ it, because I'm encouraging people to, carry it, maintain a journal during the process, and but what works for them, so it can be a lot of different things. It could be audio recording, it could be video. You can do video of yourself with your phone and stuff nowadays. It can be a lot of different things. It can be poems, it can be pictures, you could be drawing things. I mean, really, there's all kinds of things. But the bottom line is this is a really powerful exercise. Not only in kind of creating, visualizing, and putting into a concept what you're going to put on paper, but it's also like the physical act of doing it is kind of a reinforcement of kind of thinking and then doing, that you're getting yourself in the habit of doing, which is another kind of step towards taking action towards what you really want to do. And so that's another way to build momentum for yourself, when it comes to um, really kind of figuring out what it is you want to do and what kind of goals you want to accomplish, or how you want to change your life. Because I do believe that there's different views on goals, and do people really need them, or can they incorporate them into effectively like a daily practice in which they just become the person they want to be, and do that by practicing it on a daily basis. You don't need to have any goals to do that if that's what your goal is. You just practice. You just practice your practice.
But okay, so when you said that thing about like writing in the future and writing what we're looking forward in the future kind of thing, something that's coming up for me is like I feel dread, like fear. What if I write something? Like what if I say I'm going to be making $5,000 a month and then or $10,000 a month, whatever, and it doesn't show up. It doesn't manifest, and then I'll look stupid. And if I share it with you guys, then you guys will think that I'm a failure, and I can't create what I'm writing down. So why am I even writing? And of course, I'm a loser, right? All that stuff.
I actually had something to say about this. It ties into a video series that I was watching before we started our show. It was about I think it was reestablishing a appropriate way of regulating your emotions. And it was talking about journaling before meditation, specifically because sometimes your dreams can cause emotional flashbacks. So you can wake up feeling the effects of like a flashback, but not have any idea of why you're irritated or upset or being triggered. And sometimes just going and journaling about the specific questions were like the fears and concerns. So it could be like even the most random thing, like I have a fear that someone ate all the cheese in the fridge and now I have to go out and get some, to to like very serious fears. And it kind of like gets you in the process of dumping all of that, what she calls the hamster wheel of dread. You dump that and you put it in its place, and then you can access the I think what Mike was talking about, like your goals, what you actually want to do for the day, because it's hard to get past that initial dread, because that's one of my biggest struggles with journaling.
Yeah, well, one of the things is when it comes to like leaving it to our own mind and what we experience in our own mind on a daily basis, is people experience somewhere between 50,000 and 150,000 micro thoughts a day. And, the predominant studies suggest that it's about 80% negative. And so we're constantly bombarded with negativity, via the media and so forth. And it's, I think it's a consequence of our inaction in regard to how do we go about, like equaling that out so that we get more positive messages and more positive mindsets kind of embedded in our mind, so that we're not falling victim to, what is the environment, which is, entirely negative, but, in a lot of different ways. And so this is another way, like you mentioned, where you can declutter your mind by kind of getting rid of a lot of negative things that may be repeating in your mind over a period of time, or in a particular instance, that you don't really want and is not really productive for you. You can kind of write that stuff down and just really doing even a minute or two of reflection on that can really give you a lot more guidance on, and kind of just an observation on what is really actually happening to you. And you can be really self-correcting. And when you have that kind of situation, as you kind of build a habit of doing that, of like addressing those things on your journal, you're going to have a way of kind of like putting yourself in kind of a process, or even you could call it a trance to some degrees, but essentially programming your own subconscious mind to effectively do that every time that you run into a problem, or you have a fear, or you have something that is kind of standing in your way from where you really want to go. You can actually do that so that your subconscious mind, you don't even really have to consciously deal with it. You can just have your subconscious mind already putting those things into their proper places. But what I actually was going to do is I was just going to read a little bit from my journal today, because I had a task I was going to present today. So I started the morning and I just I did a little bit of writing my story for the future. And essentially, like every task that we have during the day is an opportunity for us to be like awesome, you know. And so I just wanted to, you know, I wanted to deliver something awesome to the audience today. And so I figured I'll just read out of my journal what I said because I thought it was pretty good. So here we go. So, you know, I was listening to some music, and Phil Collins came up and he says, "I have lived my whole life for this moment." And I thought to myself, a great question to have in mind is, how can I make the most of it? You know, every time I think of that, I think, how can I make the most of it? So my thought for 2020, because today is New Year, I've been a very lucky man. My luck, and I'll define luck here shortly, continues to be awesome. I'm sitting on top of my own opportunity to be who I always wanted to be. The person who cries tears of joy and gratitude for having such a wonderful life. You know, I'm on the verge of kind of hitting that, and it feels freaking great. And the best thing of all is, you know, the best is yet to come. And so, you know, it's even more awesome. But my definition of luck is preparation plus opportunity. And, you know, that's what I would highly encourage anyone. So for today, in regard to the, you know, the journaling podcast, I'm going to give those who are listening a peek at the magic wand that they have and can use. A magic wand that can turn their life into the life they want. One in which they can eliminate their liabilities on their own balance sheet and stack up their assets simply with effective habits, practices, and willpower. And maybe you could call that discipline. But you know, I'm pledging as a member of this crew, and I think we're going to do this on a regular basis. I'm going to be here to guide the audience along the way. So if you need any help doing that, making your magic wand work, I'm here to help.
It kind of sounds like you're challenging us to some kind of a writing exercise.
Yeah, well, I want you to love it as much as I do, because you know I was definitely not somebody that really loved writing stuff down. You know, when I was a real young kid, when I first discovered writing, I loved to write stuff down. But you know, going through school, they made you hate it. You know, writing all kinds of stuff you don't want to do. You get tired of writing that kind of belonging.
So you're going to tell us so there's no time. So from what I know, from what you told me, we don't have to write it all in the same day. But by next Wednesday, which is our next journaling check-in,
I thought we were going to go to Monday. We're going to go
Monday?
to Monday for journaling check-in?
Oh, okay, Monday, fine.
Yeah, so you got till Monday.
Okay, hang on.
The audience can participate in this too. So I want to encourage people to really see the value in this stuff.
So is that it? Am I going to be doing that every day?
It's really up. I mean, I think that you need to have a daily habit that you can kind of tie other things to. So, but it doesn't have to be crazy. You know, it can be 1 minute. 1 minute to write something down. Maybe it's a sentence about how your day went or what your energy level.
But I don't have to write it down. I could be like, just because I'm too busy writing. I love writing so much, but to journal or write in my diary or something really is time. So I can just record myself on my phone.
Sure. You can do that too. Okay? Yep. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, something along those lines.
Because you know those people that they say, you know, that ink it, link it, sync it thing, where if you write something down with an actual pen, there is some neurological process that goes on, and it
I agree.
brings it back to your mind.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, like if it works for you, to try that. But if it doesn't work, if you're having a hard time, then maybe we'll suggest doing the writing and see how that works for you, because maybe you need that actual action time to kind of firm it up in your own mind. But the bottom line is to figure out like what works for you the best, but just keep doing it, because another thing that's going to come from this is a whole bunch of benefits that I will outline as we go along. And we can keep stacking them up, because there's hundreds or thousands, maybe millions, I don't know. But there's a lot of benefits, and we'll just keep stacking them.
So what if we hang on? I just want to like think through the logistics of it for what, like, have a plan for next week. So
Sure.
what if we, every time we sit down at our computers, like first thing during the day, sit down to work. What if we wrote one sentence in the diary at that point, just one sentence? And if you move to write more, you can write 2, 3, 12 sentences. But at the beginning of each work session, write down one sentence. That should probably only take a minute.
Yeah, it shouldn't take long at all. The idea is just to establish the habit and do it regularly, and do it in a way that you actually accomplish it.
I'm extremely resistant to this. I've tried this before, and I've always given up after 3 days. But I kind of like the idea that you're going to be asking about it every Monday.
Right,
Because,
that's why I'm going to help you.
And as a leader of this group, it behooves me to participate in this exercise. So you kind of like tricked me.
So,
well, because I'm gonna, just like a little inside information for the audience. I'm gonna really educate the whole team on the whole ethical emergence course. So everybody's going to get the whole ethical emergence course. All our counselors here, and therapists, and experts, and
even the resistant ones.
Even the resistant ones.
Like
journaling is going to be a big part of that. So you're gonna have to. I'm going to be asking you more questions and giving you a little bit of homework and stuff like that. And you're going to have to be adding to your journaling skills. However you do it.
One of the tricks that I learned, I think it was Bessel van der Kolk, but he set up an email where his clients, if they had something to say they needed to just say it to whoever, or maybe they needed to say it to no one. But the physical act of clicking it and sending it to something else it was more satisfying than just writing in a journal, because that's my problem. I'm looking through my journal that I did when you suggested this a week ago, and it's just a list. I don't remember. There's no memories tied to these words. It's just like a list of how I felt that day, and I'm like, but I don't know why I felt that way. So I think like between the video journaling, actually writing it out, and maybe like having somewhere to send it to, we might be able to overcome all of our resistances and then better help anyone we want, any of our clients, because they're going to have the same problems that we're having.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suggest anything that you think will work as a way to do it. So whatever fits you the best, that's what we want to do. What makes it fun for you, that's what we want to do. And just really kind of demonstrate. And this is another thing. It's like a willpower exercise. And this is one in which we get to demonstrate to other people how much willpower we have. And I'm really challenging you, because this is going to be really powerful experience. If you really get on board with this thing, because when we're done with the course, you're going to be much, much more capable person in a lot of different ways that you don't even really, I doubt you're aware of all the things I'm going to be able to show you. But, like with autonomy, it's going to be, some valuable stuff.
Yeah. So I'm resistant, and I don't like things that you have to do every single day. Like, I don't like taking vitamins. I don't like being beholden to something.
I'm seeing a real that I'm gonna continue after you finish.
Okay. No, yeah, it's so good. So So I'm feeling like, oh my God, it's going to tie. Like I feel like the handcuffs are going. But so I'm breaking it down. I'm like, okay, I'm resistant. I don't want to do it. But right now, all Michael's asking me to do is to write down 6 sentences, right? One for today, one for tomorrow, one for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then Monday, when we have our show at 4 p.m. PST, which is the time zone I'm in, so at 4 p.m., I will have 6 sentences. How much effort does it take to write 6 sentences? Not much. It's all together. I could write 6 sentences in under 5 minutes.
And the truth is, you already came up with the first one. You don't want to do this. You don't want to be here. That's what I wrote. That's what I said.
You, Michael.
The first thing I said in my video was, I don't like doing this. This is not fun for me.
Yeah.
All your benefits. Sorry, go. Okay. Oh, my name tag. Oh, crap.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because I think that's certainly all valid. That's a valid feeling. And we definitely want to address that.
Lead me to my future.
But like one of the. Go ahead.
No, I'm just really curious. I want to see if the other guys feel the same. Like I noticed that us three are just like,
the girls.
Just the rigidity of it all. I've done this. I've tried this myself, and it made me feel like after about a month of it, I started feeling really tired and ill, and like, oh my gosh, I just felt like my days were just the same every day, and I lost the joy of it all, and that was sad for me. And so, I wonder if the guys also experience that, or if they have, it's just this fun, practical building exercise that you.
I don't think it's fun. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it is a difficult challenge to get over. But imagine like 200 years ago, 150 years ago, even 100 years ago, almost all professionals kept a journal, and they did it because they were professionals. They needed to record like what they did, how they did it, did they do it right, did they do it wrong, what happened, all these kind of things, because those were important to their customer service and so forth. So like maybe a doctor is a really good example. Because if a doctor kicked off in those days, another doctor had to take over their patients, and they had to be able to take the journals that he had, read them on that particular patient, and know what's going on. And so this is kind of the same thing that I'm kind of introducing to people, is this idea of kind of taking a professional approach to really managing your life and being serious about improving your life.
So I had just had an interesting thought. Like, I'm thinking back to 200 years ago and all these professionals writing their thing. And the reason, like, why were they writing? Well, because they were in the process of discovery, right? Like, think about all the professionals from 200 years ago. The doctors were still examining and discovering new things with medicine all the time. They were comparing notes from patient to patient to patient, right? Now medicine is much more canned. We already know what to do in certain, like, I'm putting air quotes, but it's already like known, so you don't have to worry about it. Just follow the route, follow the step by step, and you'll be fine. And that was true for every profession. The explorers on the ships, the engineers who built bridges, everything was a process of discovery. And I guess some people in our society still go through that process, like inventors. But in reality, we, each of us, should be should be participating in a process of discovery of our own life, instead of just living the canned life from TV.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was also going to comment, because you made me think of 200 years ago, like the architects, the engineers, the doctors, they were men. What were women doing? We were talking. I've noticed, and I brought this up to my husband the other day, I was like, I feel like some of our best conversations are after the recording is off, because it'll be just like, one-on-one or.
Yeah, well, I'll give you another little ditty about why it's powerful. And then I want to point out something that Richard added to this quotient. But the first thing is how powerful writing is. If you have a note or a letter or a card from 20 years ago from your grandmother or something like that, go find that thing and pick it up and read it and see how much power writing has. It's powerful.
And reading some of the 17th
and
century.
That's what you can do. I mean, you can add a lot more of that power to your own through your own actions. You can affect yourself 20 years from now. Plus, you might affect other people 200 years from now that are reading the stuff that you're writing. That this could be that opportunity to for somebody that discovers that you are an awesome person and wants to write the story of your life. You're going to give them the information that's correct, and that's another way that you could possibly think about this exercise or think about what you're doing in regard to developing a habit of recording yourself that could be really powerful. And maybe for your children, it might be something in which it could be like one of your heirlooms that you give to them when they really need it. You can say, here, you're 20 years old. Let me give you my 20 journal and see what you think. And I guarantee you that the level of communication you'll have with your child that gets to peek inside of your mind.
I'm just saying, the level of panic that I felt at those words of handing someone else my journal, that's an absolute no for me.
Well, maybe you can hand it to your grandchild, or your great-grand, or maybe your somewhere down the line.
I'll be okay if someone finds it after my death. I'll be like, if you guys want to know who I was when I die, go to the secret box.
What, Dee?
I was saying it will be a good book. I really like that. Yeah, you're pushing us right now. Like, you're like, yeah, okay, it was probably a couple of 100 years ago. It's probably for men, but that's okay. Let's move past that. Let's kind of come on, girls. Let's do this. I like that you're doing that for us. Thank you. You're kind of just standing there and going, no, we're going to do this.
That's right.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. It's I promise you, and like I said, I will try and help you. If you're having a hard time with it, just let me know, and I'll try and we can talk about suggestions of what might work. But what it is to try and find the sweet spot. But this is an exercise towards a much longer goal, and as we proceed through this stuff, it's going to be useful to have that, then to be able to add to the effectiveness of all those other things.
So it's like a video game. You're making like a real life video game, and every week or two we're going to get a new boss to battle.
Well, new stage.
It's called a boss.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Level boss. Each level has each boss. In a video game, you battling through the different levels, and then at the end of the level, you get the big boss, and when you kill him, you get lots of treasure, and you move on to the next level where there's lots of little bosses, and then at the end, you battle the big boss, you get lots of treasure, and you move on. That's what it's sounding like to me. Like a video game.
Since you mentioned it, I will point out that I do not like rewards or punishment, and I think both are actually.
You don't like, sorry, what?
I don't like rewards or punishment. And so I would suggest not doing that for yourself when it comes to, like, if you're going to take an activity on, don't take it on and say, I'll give myself a cupcake at the end of the week if I make this happen. You're really robbing yourself of really actually analyzing what the true quality of what you're doing is. And there's quite a few, there's some books on it that I can refer to that make a very logical argument why either rewards or punishment are actually both bad. And we shouldn't be doing it.
So what you're saying is that if I develop just the joy of doing it, like I have a joy of reading. I don't read just to find out stuff, just to research, or if I have a question. I also just read because I just like doing it. I don't have to motivate myself to do it. I can have a book and I can just open it and just get comfortable and read. It sounds like that's what is better than rewards and punishment. It's what
it's also like the
there's a special
philosophy.
name.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was saying there's a special name for just so people can look it up if they want. No, I've lost it. It's gone off the top of my head. I'll get back to you guys.
You can write it in comments on our Facebook page after you remember.
No, I would say the aesthetics. Go ahead.
Sorry. We need to figure out how to like raise our hand or something, because we do this all the time and I feel terrible.
Now, please.
Yeah, me too.
I was gonna say it reminds me of like natural consequences and natural rewards. Like for me, it's like journaling and jujitsu are similar because they're both activities that I have to build a habit of doing, and it's not very comfortable when I'm doing it. But the reward is I now feel more comfortable in my own body because of jujitsu. I now feel more comfortable in my own mind because I understand it better. So for me, it's not like rewards and punishment, like they don't exist, but that there are consequences, and they are either good, healthy consequences, or they're bad, negative consequences. So.
Yeah, it's I would say that philosophy, is busted into 5 different parts, and aesthetics is kind of like the highest version, the beauty, the art of what it is, and that's where you like doing something, doing a task. There is an inherent beauty. There's an inherent goodness about it, and if you obscure that with things like money, like putting a price on things, you really lose understanding the real value behind the money.
But I thought that the lots of treasure we're going to get is just like the feeling good that we've accomplished it at the end of the week. Like, oh, I got my 6 sentences. I'm good.
Yeah, well, that's where my last point is in regard to something. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim. He made it.
My last point in being something that Richard put together. But go ahead, Tim.
No, sorry to be late. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, so something that Richard pointed out in one of his lectures was this concept that he called sell, and it's the SELL, and I have been really kind of trying to incorporate that into how to understand that in a way that really brings more value to me. And it really is what that concept is really about selling ourselves. And this is another thing that, like, when you become really observant of the person that you are, you become like your own best product, that you can deliver to other people. And, I think the best way to do that is what Richard suggests, ask questions, and then, the S of sell, be sincere. And then ask questions and be encouraging, and ask questions and listen and learn, and ask questions and love. And if you don't know how to love, just help,
Yeah.
And that's really how a person becomes and understands their own value, and how other people can see their value. And that's really selling ourselves, selling, the product that we are, or the goodness and value that we bring. We've got to let other people know who we are and what we're capable of, so that they can understand, and then we can work together, we can collaborate on things. And that's something that's missing from our community, because we allowed all this fear and all this divide and conquer to keep us from really being able to interact with each other in a very productive way, that we can help each other, in a lot of different ways that we don't even realize until we verbalize and communicate who we are and what we really love to do, and the qualities and benefits that we have. Until other people understand that, and certainly other people that care about us.
It's funny because the thing you were just talking about, the selling yourself to yourself, and that's something that I talk to my clients, my coaching clients, about quite a bit. But the way I phrase it is self-parenting, because the first 20 years of your life, you have your physical external parents, or if you don't, some people don't, some people are in the foster system or whatever. But that first 20 years of our lives, we're raised by other people. We're told what to do, how to do it, and taught their ways because they don't know any better, essentially. But after 20, it's up to us to raise ourselves, right? There's still that inner child mechanism, that resistant person, like that me saying, I don't want to be doing journaling. That sounds like jail. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want you to make me. But in essence, it's like a minute a day. Like, chill. It's not jail. You just have to write one sentence once a day. And that whole self-parenting thing, basically the way you described it, right? What's the ideal parent that I would like to have? How I like to raise myself, and how I'm going to support myself in achieving whatever I want to be achieving in my life. Yeah. And just to bring Tim up to par, just for 1 second, Michael told us about the benefits of journaling, and then he challenged us to write one sentence a day for this week until Monday, when he checks in with us and checks. I'm
glad I missed that part, so I missed the assignment then.
No, it's for all of us.
That's the absolute least. I'm saying, if you can dedicate a minute, if all you can dedicate is 1 minute, dedicate 1 minute to writing something down about how your day went, or how your day for tomorrow is going, or something that kind of gives you an idea of.
I mean, one thing struck me when you were talking about the SELL was that we're put into all these competitive institutional structures where you're not to cooperate. If you cooperate, it's cheating. And then you're isolated, sorted, and graded and judged. And that makes you fearful of other people as competitors. Whereas in reality, you can use their best skills and they can use your best skills to create something more if you collaborate. Right. But the divide and conquer keeps you from collaborating. Right. And I think this is something that our group in Autonomy has raised to my consciousness, is that the collaboration allows you to actually leverage and leapfrog the place where you were in the past. And you can really get a lift up, as opposed to being dragged down by the crabs in the bucket. They'll be pulling you out.
But the way Michael set this exercise up, you're the only person you're battling and competing against is yourself. But if you fail, your failure will be public. So by Monday, we're all going to be aware who lived up to the expectations and wrote their sentence a day, or 2 sentences, or 12, and who didn't.
Well, I don't, it's not punishment though. So
no, just shame. That's all.
No, actually, since I went ahead and I started journaling last week, I remember telling my husband I was excited to share with everybody else. And I was like, not because I did good, not at all. There's like 3 days where I didn't write anything, because all I can remember is just, it was hazy and I didn't feel good and it took me forever to do anything. So I was excited. I was like, yay, at least I can talk to someone else about this instead of just dealing with it over and over and not ever being able to recognize it. So I'm actually excited to see who fails, because I want to be like, hey, maybe we can help each other.
Fail often until you succeed.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of something that's easy to fail at, and just keep going. You can miss a day, you can miss 2 days, you can miss a week, miss a
Don't
month.
tell us that.
But the thing is if you're if you're dedicated to doing it, and it just takes failure after failure. No, I can't do it that way. No, I don't like that. No, I tried this, it doesn't work. No, but you just keep going. You just keep trying, and it will come. And this is the thing is this is a very valuable tool. It's like, to me, it's like, washing your hair or performing personal hygiene. This is really, performing the things that you need to focus yourself on yourself for a period of time each day, and help yourself. And
So
it's going to be powerful.
you do this every day, but you told us in our private meetings, you told us that every Sunday morning you do this like brain dump, like
Yeah.
sewage cleanup of your brain, and you take all the negativity and you transfer it onto paper and you release it from your brain. That's how I
No, I
remember
just
you saying.
I just get rid of. I just I kind of the word trance is kind of a difficult word for some people, but essentially kind of put myself in a meditative state where I let all the negative thoughts go, and I just don't have any negative thoughts. And then I write down, what my subconscious brings to my mind. And I might ask myself questions during the week of why this is the way that it is, or, how can I do better at this? Or, man, I'm confused about what that is. And all those kind of questions that might go on through the week. And then on Sunday, I have that brain dump where I let go of the negative thoughts and I just let my subconscious mind communicate with my conscious mind, and I write stuff down. And it's usually some really valuable stuff that I get from that, great ideas as well as, some great insight. And
your
sometimes,
life,
it's like a
and
conversation.
yeah, and your life proves it, because you were very rich in finances before, but now you're very rich in environment. You have this gorgeous house, you have this gorgeous place to live, you're living your dream, you're doing exactly what you want to be doing on every day. So I think there is something to follow there, because you do seem to have it pretty much together. You know what I mean? When I look at the quality of life that you enjoy, it's up there.
It's amazing. You'd be amazed at how little I live on.
But that's not the point, because abundance is not See, people confuse financial abundance and abundance. Abundance is having what you want when you want it, in a way you want it. And financial abundance might, like, a lot of people experience financial abundance without actually feeling abundant, right? They're really rich, but they're constantly dieting and depriving themselves of the sweetness of life. They're constantly watching every penny, or they're constantly spending the money and never feeling fulfilled with the spending, right? There's so many ways to be abundant in money, but yet very poor in life.
Yes.
Right? And I personally think that when it's not about the amount of money that one has, it's about how you feel about your life, your day to day. Are you waking up happy, or are you waking up stressed?
I absolutely agree with that. I think that's very well said. I was just talking to somebody this morning. They were over visiting for the holidays, and they had to leave this morning back to Australia. And I was telling them about kind of some of my thoughts today, because I woke up with a bunch of great ideas. But effectively, it was along those lines that probably 12 years ago, I decided to retire from construction business. I've been fed up with the people I was working for and kind of the situations I was in. I just wasn't feeling like I was. I had a real passion for it, but I was just not. It was just not rewarding for me personally anymore, because I really didn't see how it was helping people, and it wasn't helping me. I was, falling victim to the rat race kind of thing. And so I retired, and 12 years later to this very day, is really when I just discovered this morning that, I'm back where I was, back how confident I was in my ability to do my job in 12 years ago in construction is how I feel about what I do today. That's how confident I am in what I'm doing now. It's been 12 years of, beating my head against the wall on a lot of different things, but it is stuff like this, is disciplining myself to take that opportunity to learn about myself and kind of figure out all the things that are, holding me back from being who I really want to be. And that's one of the beauties that, for me, Mexico has done, Acapulco has done for me, is really, I've gone through the ringer in some ways down here, but it's been one in which, I've been transformed. And I definitely want to share that with people because I think it's incredibly valuable, getting away from the programming and the conditioning and all the kind of preconceived notions about who I thought I was supposed to be versus who I really want to be.
Yeah, we'd like to get away too. Can we come visit you?
Yeah. You can do
Yeah.
that.
Yes. I will come visit you as well.
Agnieszka, you are away. You're just away in a different place.
I've had
I was
a
just being
slew of English and Australians. I don't know if I was saying this, but this past year I had I think 3 or 4 Australians at the house over the year, and that's kind of unique. It used to be Swedish. We had a bunch of Swedish and it's been a bit of English, and now I guess the Australian. So definitely rolling the welcome mat out for Australians.
Maybe that's what we should do. We should have like a team building exercise where we all show up at Michael's house. We sit around his pool and do a live show right out from the pool.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
That sounds fun.
Sounds ideal.
Yeah. It's a different place. I mean, it's a whole different world. This place, it's like sitting on the top of a pyramid kind of thing, feeling, it's an energy spot. And, I just, like my guest that was here for the last 10 days, she left this like, wow, I feel so much different. And, that to me, that's, I've shared something that I feel and I love about this place. It's a powerful place. And I get the opportunity on occasion to share that with my friends, and I would definitely love to share it with you guys.
And I know that as soon as I said that, everybody was like, "Oh, but what about my, the schoolwork and what about my family and what about this and what about that?" But that's where the journaling exercise comes in. We're going to journal away into a retreat center in Acapulco at Michael's house. That's what I think. See, he doesn't believe in reward and punishment, but essentially he just kind of set it up. I might have manipulated the situation a wee bit.
Don't see it that way. You're gonna get it no matter what.
I mean, what's the definition of manipulation? You manipulate clay into a really cool pot or an ashtray.
Well, mano is your hand, and manipulate is to move with your hands or shape with your hands. You asked.
I did.
So for just the general thing, so we're just simply writing something down each day about ourselves or our life or something like that. In fact, I even had some ideas. You can observe yourself. You can be logical or artistic, poetry or just essentially bullet points. You can think about what your purpose is or who you want to become, the person that you want to become, describing that. What is, or maybe what is your story and where does it go from here?
We have to talk about that one some more, because as soon as you talk about the future storytelling, my heart just skips a beat. I'm like, ugh. And it's that expectation. What if I write something that turns out not to be true? Am I going to be a fool? Am I going to be silly?
I have a different way that I do that, that I'm going to be doing for my own goals when I start in the next few days, is taking somebody else's success story and writing it for myself. Mm-hmm. So that could be somebody I look up to, somebody I idolize, and let's say I'm writing a news article about their success story, but put my name in it and the things that I want to do. That helps, I find.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, is those kind of things where you take your own creative solution and make it yours, and make it fun for yourself. And
nice.
Yeah.
So you'll be doing this every Monday. Sorry, Willow, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna suggest also, like, if that's where you're hung up on, go with that. If you're like, every time I go to write about the future, it freaks me out because maybe my whole empire that I'm trying to create is gonna topple over, and then you're gonna have to be like, oh well, now I'm gonna build a new one, and that's so, like, even take the struggle that you're having, write it down, go from that, and then try to make that better.
When my empire topples over, I don't die. I can just build another empire and another empire until one sticks.
It's a video game.
It's a video game, you guys. It's a video game.
It could also be an exercise in which, and I know this may sound kind of logical, but it's the difference between irrational fear and rational fear. Being able to determine that when you do have a fear and you're able to acknowledge it and identify what it is, then you can go about figuring out for yourself, is it a rational fear or is it an irrational fear? And that is actually a good exercise too, because if you get in a good habit of doing that on a regular basis, again,
sadly,
you can put it into your own subconscious mind and eliminate a lot of the fears that you have.
Sadly, the school system seems to be instilling a lot of irrational fears in us. Like, if you think about it, all that competition and the stress, you have to get 12 chapters done by Friday, and but the other 3 teachers also assign something for Friday. Deal with it, learn to multitask, all of that. It doesn't promote creativity and growth and blossoming. It seems to promote cortisol.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's stressing you out. They're teaching you how to stress yourself out.
Yeah. And what about Tim? Does Tim have something to add? We're totally out of time, but it's New Year's Eve, so whatever, or New Year's Day, so whatever. But I would like to hear from Tim before we close out. But I'm going to also tell you guys in a minute what we're going to do tomorrow during our podcast. But first, Tim.
Well, it is New Year's. And I did do my big Emeraldy plan last night of things that I wanted to accomplish. So I wrote that down, and then
you weren't scared.
Well, not necessarily. I came up with a few more, of course, as I was sleeping and thinking. And then I was having coffee with my wife this morning, which was nice. And there was no noise, no electronics, no guys blowing leaves, no cars going by. It was very quiet and peaceful, which is unusual for here. The wind was not blowing, so the highway noise was not coming in as we took a walk this morning. And as we were talking, I just recognized how much we drive by looking in the rearview mirror in our lives. And we are driving without looking forward. We are letting the road behind us impact everything that we do, and it creates fear. And also, we spend a lot of time trying to fix things that are already by us. So it's difficult to let go of things that have happened, but it's all in the rearview mirror, and that's not a successful way to navigate by looking back.
I think we should do a whole show about the rearview mirror thing. I think it's an amazing concept.
I do too. I think that's an awesome analogy of exactly, I think, what most people are doing. They're driving by looking in their rearview mirror.
Yeah, and
And wondering why they're hitting things.
I mean, if you have a straight road, then that works for a while, but as soon
Yeah.
as you get a curve, and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And
Because you can't see.
no. Well, we are blind to the opportunities is what happens. And because our fear stops us and our memories of the emotions that we encountered in negative situations are carried forward, we're allowing that to hold us back from doing and being what we want to do and be. And I have difficulty explaining that concept to other people and even to myself, but recognizing it as the first step to kind of living in that manner. And then I think we're all working on ways to live better and to help other people live better. And we've had some success with that. And our group is moving in that direction and promoting it. And I think that we will continue to have a lot to offer, and having the support of the Autonomy crew and the Raising Excellence crew has meant a great deal this year. And this is just the first year. So I see that we're on a fantastic trajectory, and my focus is going to be on how to accelerate that, not to keep rising at the same rate, but to accelerate the rate of expansion and open-mindedness, and leaving things in the past that need to be in the past. Processing negative emotions and fears so that we can become our best selves and create that value that we want to create in the world. And we were kind of talking about that, and it became that mediocrity that is bred by the institutional systems that we're all familiar with holds people back from their individuation. And that individuation, the maximization of individual talents, skills, and abilities is what makes things grow. Everything else just keeps the status quo. And meeting more people, leveraging their extraordinary capabilities allows you to move forward much faster than marching along at a mediocre pace and getting good grades and conforming to the herd. So here's to you guys for the new year, and we'll get it done.
That's awesome, Tim. Thank you.
Absolutely, we have so much content planned. It's crazy. But for now, we're going to close out this live stream, and we're going to invite everybody to come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm just going to say the time in Eastern. It's so much easier. We're all from all over the world. Timing and dates have been a challenge. But tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about how to bring our power into the present. So how to harness the power of the present moment to really, really start your new year strong. So tune in for that on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And in the meantime, I wish you all adieu. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Oops.
Dobra.
Enjoy.